Jake Morrison sat in the back row of his advanced space science class, trying to stay awake as Professor Zixthala explained the dangerous parts of the galaxy. The tall crystal being clicked and chimed as she moved around the classroom, her body catching the light from the 3 suns outside. "Today we will talk about the forbidden zones," the professor said, her voice sounding like wind through glass. "These are places where no smart species should ever go." Jake looked around at his classmates. There was Kira, whose body looked like colored smoke that moved and changed shape. Next to her sat Vel, who looked like a giant bug with shiny eyes and long, thin arms. Behind them was Rex, a lizard person with tough green skin and sharp teeth. All of them were much smarter than the students. Back on Earth, Kira could do math problems in her head that would take Jake hours to solve. Vel could remember every single thing she had ever read. Rex could see patterns that Jake could not even notice. Jake was the only human at Zenith Academy. The school only took the best students from across the galaxy. Jake still wondered how he had gotten in. His grades were good, but not amazing. He was not the smartest kid in his class back home. But somehow, the Academy had picked him to represent Earth. The other students were nice to him, but Jake always felt different. He could not change shape like Kira. He could not connect his mind to computers like Vale. He could not see heat patterns like Rex. He was just a normal 17-year-old human boy with brown hair and regular clothes. "The worst of all forbidden zones is the Maelstrom sector," Professor Zixthala continued. A large star map appeared in the air above her desk. A big red area blinked on and off in the corner of the map. "This region has killed more explorers than any other part of space." Jake leaned forward to look at the map. The red zone was huge, covering dozens of star systems. "The gravity in this area changes without warning," the professor explained. "Ships get pulled apart by forces they cannot fight. The radiation levels are so high that they would cook any living thing in minutes. Dark matter storms appear from nowhere and destroy everything in their path." Kira raised one of her smoky arms. "Professor, why don't we just put up warning signs around the whole area?" "We have tried, young one. But the space itself moves and changes. What is safe today might be deadly tomorrow. Even our best computers cannot predict what will happen there." Vel clicked her mandibles together, which Jake had learned meant she was thinking hard. "Has anyone ever made it through the Maelstrom sector alive?" "A few ships have tried over the years," Professor Zixthala said sadly. "None have ever returned. We assume they were all destroyed." Rex hissed softly, which was how his people showed respect for the dead. "My grandfather's brother tried to cross the Maelstrom 50 years ago. His ship was found later, torn into 1,000,000 pieces." Jake looked at the red zone on the map again. Something about it looked familiar, but he could not remember why. Class bell rang, and all the students started packing up their things. Jake put his tablet in his backpack and headed for the door. "Jake, wait up," Kira called out, floating over to him. Her smoke-like body turned from blue to green, which meant she was happy. "Do you want to study together this weekend?" "Sorry, I can't," Jake said, slinging his backpack over his shoulder. "I'm going home for the weekend to visit my family." Rex walked up to them, his heavy feet making soft sounds on the floor. "Home? But Earth is so far away." "It would take weeks to get there," Jake laughed. "Not Earth. I mean my real home, where my parents live now." More students gathered around them. Jake noticed that Professor Zixthala had stopped packing her things and was listening too. "Where do your parents live?" Vel asked, her big eyes looking curious. "Oh, just a little mining town out in the Maelstrom sector," Jake said, like he was talking about going to the mall. "My dad runs a mining operation on asteroid X-47, and my mom has a research station on one of the moons nearby." The hallway went completely quiet. Kira's smoky body stopped moving entirely, frozen in the air like a statue. Vel's antennae snapped straight up. Rex's mouth fell open, showing all his sharp teeth. Even Professor Zixthala dropped the crystal tablet she was holding. It hit the floor with a loud crash. Jake looked around at everyone's shocked faces. "What's wrong? Did I say something bad? Did you just say the Maelstrom sector?" Kira whispered, her voice barely audible. "Yeah, why?" Jake asked, getting more confused. "Is there something wrong with that?" Professor Zixthala stepped closer, her crystal body making nervous ringing sounds. "Young Jake, are you certain you said the Maelstrom sector?" "The Forbiddens." "Zone we just discussed in class?" "Well, yeah," Jake said, looking around at all the staring faces. "That's where I live. I mean, where my family lives. I go to school here during the week, but I go home on weekends." "That's impossible," Rex said, his voice shaking. "Nothing can survive in the Maelstrom sector." Jake shrugged. "I don't know what to tell you. I've been living there for 3 years. Ever since my parents moved there for work. It's really not that bad once you get used to it." "Get used to it?" Vel repeated, her voice getting higher. "The radiation alone should have killed you." "Oh, that," Jake said, waving his hand like it was no big deal. "Yeah, you have to take some pills for that, and we have special shields on our house. But honestly, the biggest problem is just the gravity changes. Makes it hard to pour drinks. Sometimes." Professor Zixthala made a sound like breaking glass. "Jake, I think we need to talk to the dean about this." "Am I in trouble?" Jake asked, finally realizing that something was very wrong. "No, child," the professor said, her voice gentler now. "But what you have just told us changes everything we thought we knew about your species." More students had gathered in the hallway now, all staring at Jake like he had just grown a second head. Word was spreading fast through the crowd. Jake heard whispers in a dozen different languages. "The human lives in the Maelstrom. His family has a mining operation there. He says it's not that dangerous." Jake felt his face getting red. He hated being the center of attention. "Look, I don't know why everyone is so upset. It's just where I live. My little sister goes to school there too, and she's only 12. "Your sister," Professor Zixthala repeated slowly. "A 12-year-old human child lives in the Maelstrom sector. Yeah, Lisa loves it there. She's always finding weird rocks and bugs to collect. Mom says the low gravity is good for her bones." The professor's crystal body was now making a constant humming sound, which Jake had learned meant she was very stressed. "Jake," she said carefully, "I think you had better come with me to see Dean Thorax Prime right now. But I'll miss my shuttle." "Home," Jake protested. "My dad is expecting me for dinner." "Your father," the professor said, her voice getting strange. "The one who lives in the Maelstrom sector." "Yeah, Carl Morrison. He runs Morrison Mining. They dig up rare metals from the asteroids there. Business is pretty good, actually." Professor Zixthala looked like she might faint, if crystal people could faint. "Jake," she said slowly, "I think your weekend plans are going to have to wait." Jake followed Professor Zixthala down the long hallway toward the dean's office. Other students pressed against the walls to watch them pass. He could hear them whispering in their different languages, but he caught enough words to know they were all talking about him. The dean's office was bigger than Jake's entire dorm room. The walls were covered with star maps from all over the galaxy. Dean Thorax Prime sat behind a massive desk made from what looked like black stone. The old lizard man was huge, even sitting down. His green scales had white scars all over them, and his yellow eyes looked very serious. "Sit down, young human," the dean said in a deep voice that rumbled like thunder. Jake sat in the chair across from the desk. It was too big for him, making him feel even smaller than usual. Professor Zixthala stood beside him, her crystal body still making those nervous humming sounds. Professor Zixthala has told me something very interesting about your living situation. Dean Thorax Prime said, I want you to tell me exactly where your family lives. In the Maelstrom sector, Jake said again, wondering why everyone kept asking the same question. My dad has a mining company there, and my mom runs a research station. The Dean leaned forward. Jake, do you understand what the Maelstrom sector is? Sure, Jake said. It's a region of space with some unusual gravity patterns and high radiation levels. The local government back home classifies it as a frontier zone, which means you need special permits to live there. Unusual gravity patterns, the Dean repeated slowly. Jake, our most powerful warships cannot survive in that region. The gravity changes are so violent they can tear apart metal like paper. Jake shrugged. Yeah, you have to be careful about the gravity wells. Dad taught me how to read the patterns when I was 14. You just have to pay attention to the warning signs. Professor Zixthala made a sound like wind chimes in a storm. Warning signs? What warning signs? You know, the way space bends around the heavy spots. The color changes in the stars. The way your stomach feels when you're getting close to a bad area. Jake looked at their confused faces. Don't your people feel those things? No, the Dean said quietly. We do not. A door at the side of the office opened, and 3 more professors walked in. Jake recognized Dr. Quilsong, a Nebulan whose body looked like a cloud of glowing gas. Behind her came Professor Stonesinger, a Vorthic whose crystal body was dark blue. The last one was Commander Sharptooth, a Saurian like the Dean, but with red scales instead of green. We came as soon as we heard, Dr. Quilsong said, her voice sounding like whispers in the wind. Is it true? Does this human child really live in the Maelstrom? That's what he claims, Dean Thorax Prime said. Jake, tell them about your journey home. Well, I take the school shuttle to the edge of the sector, and then my dad picks me up in our family ship, Jake explained. It's about a 6-hour trip, from there to our asteroid. 6 hours, Commander Sharptooth repeated, through the Maelstrom sector. Yeah, it's not too bad if you know the safe routes. Dad has been flying through there for 3 years now. He says the trick is to go with the flow instead of fighting it. Dr. Quilsong's gaseous body started swirling faster. Safe routes? There are no safe routes through the Maelstrom. Our computers have analyzed every possible path. They all lead to destruction? Computers? Jake laughed. Oh, you can't use computers to navigate the Maelstrom. The gravity changes mess up all the sensors. You have to fly by feel. The professors all looked at each other. Jake was starting to feel like he was missing something important. Jake, Professor Stonesinger said, her crystal voice very careful. What kind of ship does your family use? Just a regular cargo hauler. Dad bought it used from a mining company on Kepler 7. It's nothing special, really. We had to add some extra shielding for the radiation, and Dad upgraded the engines a bit, but it's pretty basic. A used cargo ship, the Dean said slowly. Not a military vessel. Not a research ship with special equipment. A used cargo ship. Yeah, the steady. Eddie. She's not pretty, but she gets the job done. Commander Sharptooth stood up and walked to one of the star maps on the wall. He pointed to the red zone that marked the Maelstrom sector. Jake, this area has been considered absolutely impossible to enter for over 3,000 years. Every species in the galaxy agrees on this. No ship has ever returned from the Maelstrom. Well, that's not true, Jake said. We go back and forth all the time. So do the other families who live there. Other families? Dr. Quilsong's voice went very high. There are more humans living in the Maelstrom sector? Oh, sure. There's a whole community. The Johnsons run a fuel station on Haven's Rock. The Browns have a farm on the third moon of Tempest Prime. The kids all go to school together on the main settlement. A school, Professor Zixthala whispered. There's a school in the Maelstrom sector. Yeah, New Hope Elementary. My sister Lisa goes there. She's in 6th grade. Her teacher is Mrs. Williams, who used to work on Earth before she moved out to the frontier. The room was so quiet that Jake could hear the air recyclers humming. All the professors were staring at him, like he had just told them he could fly. Jake, the dean said very slowly, how many humans live in the Maelstrom sector? Jake thought about it. I'm not sure exactly. Maybe a few thousand? The main settlement has about 800 people, and there are smaller outposts scattered around the region. A few thousand, Commander Sharptooth repeated. Humans, living and working in the most dangerous region of known space. I mean, it's dangerous if you don't know what you're doing, Jake said. But once you learn the rules, it's not that bad. The radiation is manageable with the right equipment. The gravity wells are predictable if you know how to read them, and the scenery is actually pretty amazing. Dr. Quill's song floated closer to Jake. The radiation levels in the Maelstrom should kill any organic life form in minutes. How do you survive? We take radiation pills every morning, and all our buildings have special shielding. Plus, some of the radiation isn't as bad as it looks. The purple kind actually helps plants grow better. The purple kind, Professor Stonesinger echoed. You can see different types of radiation? Can't everyone? Jake asked, genuinely confused. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Purple is okay. Green is bad, but not deadly. And red means you need to get inside fast. The professors exchanged looks that Jake couldn't read, but he was starting to understand that something very important was happening. Jake, the dean said, I need to ask you something very serious. Would your parents be willing to speak with you? We need to understand how your people have achieved something we believed impossible. I guess so, Jake said. But they're going to be worried if I don't come home tonight. Mom always makes my favorite dinner on Fridays. We'll contact them, the dean promised. But Jake, I think your weekend plans are going to be very different from what you expected. Jake sighed. He just wanted to go home and see his family. He had no idea that his simple answer about where he lived was about to change everything the galaxy thought it knew about humans. Commander Lisa Parker sat at her desk in the Earth Defense Command Center, watching the morning news on her computer screen. It was a quiet Friday, and she was looking forward to finishing her reports early. Then her communication system started, beeping with an urgent message. The screen showed Ambassador Krextal, a Saurian diplomat she had worked with before. His usually calm face looked very worried. Commander Parker, the ambassador said, we have a situation that requires immediate attention. It concerns one of your people. Lisa straightened up in her chair. What kind of situation? A human student at Zenith Academy has made some claims that have caused great concern among the galactic community. We need to verify information about human activities in the Maelstrom sector. The Maelstrom sector? Lisa pulled up the star charts on her second screen. You mean the frontier region near the rim? What's the problem? Ambassador Krextal's tail moved in a way that Lisa knew meant he was very stressed. Commander, we have always believed the Maelstrom sector to be completely uninhabitable. Yet this student claims his family lives there. Lisa looked at her computer. Records. Let me check our colonial registry. She typed for a few moments. Yes, we have several settlements in that region. The Morrison Mining Company, New Hope Colony, Tempest Research Station. They've been there for about 3 years now. The ambassador made a choking sound. You have settlements there? Active colonies? Of course. It's good mining territory, and the research opportunities are excellent. Why? Is there some kind of diplomatic issue? Commander Parker, the ambassador said slowly, Every species in the galaxy considers the Maelstrom sector to be a death trap. No ship has ever survived passage through that region. Lisa frowned. That can't be right. We have regular supply runs to those colonies. My brother-in-law actually works for Morrison Mining. He takes his family back to Earth for vacation every year. She could see the ambassador's face getting pale, which was hard to do with green scales. Commander, I need you to understand something. The Maelstrom sector contains gravitational anomalies that can tear apart our strongest military vessels. The radiation levels are lethal to all known life forms. It is considered the most dangerous region in charted space. Lisa looked at her records again. Well, I can see why you might think that. The gravity wells do require careful navigation, and you need proper shielding for the radiation. But our frontier pilots are trained for those conditions. Trained for those conditions? The ambassador repeated. Commander, are you telling me that your people regularly travel through space that we consider absolutely impassable? If you're talking about the Maelstrom region, then yes. It's challenging, but not impossible. You just need to know what you're doing. Ambassador Kreckstall was quiet for a long moment. Commander Parker, I need to send you some footage from the Siege Academy. Please watch it and tell me if this student is telling the truth. The screen changed to show a recording from a classroom. Lisa watched as a young human boy casually mentioned living in the Maelstrom sector. She saw the alien students freeze in shock, and she heard the boy describe his family's life there like it was perfectly normal. That's Jake Morrison, Lisa said when the recording ended. Good kid. His father, Carl, runs one of our most successful mining operations out there. His father flies a civilian cargo ship through the Maelstrom sector, the ambassador said. On a regular basis? Well, yes. How else would he get supplies to his mining operation? Lisa was starting to understand why the ambassador looked so upset. She pulled up more files on her computer. Ambassador, let me show you something, she said, turning her screen so he could see it. This is a standard Earth frontier transport. Nothing fancy, just a basic cargo hauler with upgraded engines and radiation shielding. The ambassador studied the ship specifications. This vessel does not appear to have any special gravitational protection systems. It doesn't need them. Our pilots learn to navigate by reading the space around them. They use the gravity wells to help them move faster instead of fighting against them. Use the gravity wells, the ambassador said weakly. Commander, those gravity wells have destroyed every ship that has encountered them. Only if you try to fight them, Lisa explained. Our pilots treat space like an ocean with currents and tides. You have to learn to swim with the flow, not against it. She brought up another file. Look, here's the training manual for Maelstrom navigation. It takes about 6 months to learn the basics, and another year of experience before we let pilots carry passengers. The ambassador looked at the training manual like it was written in an alien language, which Lisa supposed it was. Commander Parker, he said carefully, how long have your people been able to do this? Navigate difficult space? We've been doing it since we first left Earth orbit. Space is dangerous everywhere, so we learned to adapt. But the Maelstrom sector specifically. Lisa checked her records. First successful transit was about 4 years ago. Captain Murphy was scouting for new mining sites and decided to try a route through the Maelstrom. He found some excellent asteroid fields and reported back that the area was challenging but manageable. One of your captains simply decided to try flying through the most dangerous region in the galaxy. Well, when you put it like that, it does sound a bit crazy, Lisa admitted. But Murphy was always good at finding new routes. He's the one who opened up the Kepler Run and the Vega Express. The ambassador's tail was moving so fast, it was almost a blur. Commander, do you understand what this means? If your people can. Travel safely through the Maelstrom sector. There may be other regions of space that we have avoided unnecessarily. Lisa thought about it. Probably. We found that a lot of places marked as dangerous on the galactic charts are just difficult. Not impossible. The void reaches, the spiral storms, the crystal maze. They all just require different techniques. The void reaches, the ambassador whispered. You've been to the void reaches? Sure. We have a research station there. Dr. Kim is doing some. Fascinating work on dark matter interactions. The low gravity makes for excellent zero-G manufacturing, too. The ambassador put his head in his hands. Commander Parker, I think we need to have a much longer conversation about human space travel capabilities. Lisa was beginning to realize that this was bigger than she had thought. Ambassador, are you saying that other species really can't navigate these regions? Commander, most species require specific flight corridors with predictable conditions. We use detailed charts and computer navigation. The idea of flying by intuition through changing gravitational fields is completely foreign to us, but that's how you explore, Lisa said. You can't chart every asteroid or predict every solar flare. Sometimes you have to trust your instincts and adapt as you go. Adapt as you go, the ambassador repeated. Commander, I think I am beginning to understand why your species was invited to join the galactic community so quickly. Lisa looked puzzled. I thought it was because of our diplomatic skills. No, Commander Parker. I think it was because the Council sensed the humans might be capable of things the rest of us are not. The communication screen went dark, leaving Lisa alone with a growing understanding that everything was about to change. The Galactic Council meeting room was bigger than a football stadium. Representatives from hundreds of different species sat in curved rows that went up to the ceiling. Jake had never seen so many different kinds of aliens in one place. There were crystal beings like his professor, gas clouds like Kira, insect people like Vel, and lizard folk like Rex. But there were also species he had never seen before, beings made of living metal, creatures that looked like walking trees, and things that seemed to be made of pure light. Jake sat in the center of the room with his parents. His mom, Dr. Rachel Morrison, looked calm but tired. She had flown in from her research station just that morning. His dad, Carl Morrison, seemed more annoyed than nervous. He kept checking his watch and muttering about missing a supply delivery. I still don't understand what all the fuss is about, Carl said to Jake's mom. So we live in a rough neighborhood. So what? Carl, I think it's a bit more complicated than that, Rachel replied, looking around at all the staring aliens. High above them, Fleet Admiral Zexquin stood at a podium. The tall crystal being's voice rang out across the huge room. Fellow representatives, the Admiral said, we are here to discuss what some are calling the human situation. Claims have been made that this species can safely travel through regions of space we have long considered impossible to enter. A Saurian delegate stood up. Admiral, with respect, these claims are clearly false. No organic being can survive in the Maelstrom sector. That's what we thought, the Admiral replied. Which is why we have arranged a test. Jake's dad perked up. A test? What kind of test? We propose a joint expedition, the Admiral explained. 3 ships will attempt to reach the human settlements in the Maelstrom sector. One will be our newest Saurian battlecruiser, equipped with the most advanced technology in the galaxy. The second will be a Nebulan research vessel with the finest scientific instruments we have. The third will be your family's cargo ship. Carl laughed. The Steady Eddie? You want to race the Steady Eddie against military ships? Not a race, Mr. Morrison. A survival test. We want to see if your methods can succeed where our technology has failed. Rachel looked worried. Is this safe? I mean, if your ships are destroyed, people could die. All ships will be unmanned except for essential crew, the Admiral assured her. and we will turn back at the first sign of danger. Carl shrugged. Fine by me. But I'm telling you right now, your fancy ships are going to have trouble. The Maelstrom doesn't care how much armor you have or how smart your computers are. 3 days later, Jake found himself on the bridge of the Steady Eddy, watching his father prepare for departure. The ship was nothing like the sleek vessels he had seen in school. Everything was patched and welded and fixed with whatever parts his dad could find. The control panel looked like it had been built by 10 different companies over 20 years. Okay, everyone, Carl said into his radio. We're approaching the edge of the Maelstrom. Remember, once we're inside, your computers are going to start acting strange. That's normal. The gravity fields mess with the sensors. The Saurian battle. Cruiser, Thunder of Stars, was a beautiful ship 3 times longer than the Steady Eddy. Jake could see its perfect hull and gleaming weapons through the window. Morrison vessel, came a voice over the radio. Our sensors show extreme gravitational disturbance ahead. Recommend we abort the mission. We haven't even entered the Maelstrom yet, Carl replied. Those are just the outer currents. It gets much worse inside. The Nebulan research ship, Seeker of Truth, was almost invisible, except for the blue glow from its engines. Mr. Morrison, said a musical voice, our instruments cannot make sense of the readings we're getting. How do you navigate in these conditions? Carl looked at Jake and smiled. Want to show them, son? Jake had been flying with his dad since he was 12. He moved to the co-pilot seat and put his hands on the controls. See that shimmer in the space ahead of us? He said into the radio. That's a gravity well forming. You can't fight it, but you can use it to slingshot around to the safe passage. I see no shimmer, the Saurian captain replied. Our sensors show only chaos. That's because you're looking with instruments instead of your eyes, Jake explained. He turned the ship toward what looked like empty space. Feel that pull in your stomach? That's the gravity well grabbing us. Now we ride it around to the left, and there. The Steady Eddy shot forward like it had been thrown by a giant hand. Jake used the momentum to guide them into a river of space that flowed between the dangerous areas. Incredible, whispered the Nebulan scientist. The human vessel just gained speed by flying directly toward the gravitational anomaly. It's all about timing, Carl said. Jake, show them the radiation dance. Ahead of them, space began to glow with different colors. Red zones that would cook anything alive, green areas that would make you sick, and purple regions that were actually safe. The trick is to follow. The purple corridors, Jake explained, steering the ship through a winding path that looked completely random to outside observers. The radiation flows in patterns. You just have to learn to read them. Behind them, the 2 alien ships were struggling. The Thunder of Stars had to use its powerful engines to fight against every gravity well, wasting enormous amounts of fuel. The Seeker of Truth kept stopping to take measurements, falling further behind. Morrison vessel, the Saurian captain said, his voice tight with stress. Our hull is taking damage from the gravitational stress. We may have to turn back. We're barely halfway there, Carl replied. Are you sure your ship can't handle it? Our ship is the most advanced vessel in the Saurian fleet. It should be able to survive anything. Should be, and can are 2 different things out here, Carl said. Jake, take us through the spiral. The spiral was Jake's favorite part of the journey home. Space seemed to twist and turn like a tornado, with gravity pulling in all directions. But if you knew the secret, you could ride the spiral like a slide, spinning faster and faster until you shot out the other side, going twice as fast as when you entered. Hold on, everyone, Jake announced, and dove the Steady Eddy into what looked like certain death. For 30 seconds, the ship spun and twisted through impossible curves. Jake's hands danced over the controls, making tiny adjustments by feel rather than by sight. Then they burst out of the spiral. Sailing smoothly toward the human settlements dot behind them, the thunder of stars tried to follow the same path. The mighty warship entered the spiral, fought against the twisting gravity, and emerged with several hull plates torn away and half its systems damaged. The Seeker of Truth took one look at the spiral and stopped. "I'm sorry," the Nebulan scientist said over the radio. "Our instruments cannot even begin to understand what you just did." "We must turn back. That's okay," Carl said kindly. "It takes practice. Jake, there's Haven's Rock. Let's show them what home looks like." Ahead of him, Jake could see the lights of human settlements scattered across dozens of asteroids and small moons. Ships moved between them like busy insects, carrying supplies and people. Children played in zero-gravity playgrounds. Farmers tended crops that grew in the strange radiation. Miners extracted precious metals from asteroids that danced in impossible orbits. "Welcome to the Maelstrom sector," Jake said into the radio. "Population 3,000 and growing." The silence that followed told him everything he needed to know about how the galaxy was going to change. 6 months had passed since Jake's simple answer about going home had shocked the galaxy. Now, walking through the halls of Zenith Academy, everything felt different. Students still said hello to him, but there was something new in their voices. Respect, wonder, maybe even a little fear. Missed the old days when he was just the normal human kid who struggled with math, homework. His locker was covered with messages from across the galaxy. Mining companies wanted to hire him as a navigator. Research groups offered him scholarships. Military academies promised him a command position if he would teach their pilots to fly like humans. "Hey, Jake," called Kira, floating over in her usual cloud of colored smoke. But now her smoke was gold instead of blue, which meant she was excited. "Did you hear the news?" "What news?" Jake asked, putting his books in his locker. "The Council just approved the first joint expedition to the Void. Reaches. They want your dad to lead it." Jake sighed. His father had become famous across the galaxy as the human who could fly anywhere. Every week brought new requests for him to explore regions that other species considered impossible to enter. "He's probably too busy," Jake said. "Mom says he's already leading 3 different expeditions this month." Vel clicked up to them, her insect legs making soft tapping sounds on the floor. "My government wants to hire human pilots to explore the crystal maze. They're offering 1,000,000 credits for each successful mission." "That's nice," Jake said, closing his locker. But he didn't sound excited. Rex appeared around the corner, his heavy footsteps announcing his arrival. "Jake, my cousin wants to know if your sister would be willing to teach navigation at our military academy. They're calling it the Morrison method now." Jake looked at his friends. They all seemed excited about these opportunities, but Jake just felt tired. His little sister Lisa had become as famous as their father. At 13, she was already getting job offers from companies across the galaxy. "It's not as special as everyone thinks," Jake said. "We just do what comes naturally." "What comes naturally to you is impossible for the rest of us," Kira pointed out. "My people have been trying to learn your navigation methods for months. We can't do it." "Neither can mine," Vel added. "Our computers can analyze the data you collect, but we can't feel the gravity patterns the way you do." They walked into Professor Zix Thala's classroom together. The old crystal being was standing in front of a new star map that showed regions of space that had been off limits just 6 months ago. Now they were marked with human symbols, indicating colonies, research stations, and trade routes. "Good morning, class," the professor said, her voice ringing like clear bells. "Today we will discuss the latest discoveries from the human settlements." In the Dragon's Teeth Nebula, Jake slumped in his seat. Even his science classes were all about humans now. The research station there has discovered 17 new types of crystals that can only form in the extreme conditions found in that region. The professor continued. These crystals may revolutionize our energy storage technology. A saurian. Student raised her hand. Professor, how many regions are humans exploring now? As of this morning, human expeditions are active in 47 previously unexplored sectors, the professor replied. They have established permanent settlements in 12 of them. After class, Jake walked slowly to his next period. In the hallway, he passed a group of younger students who stopped talking when they saw him. He heard them whisper as he went by. That's him. That's the human who started everything. My dad says humans are going to change the whole galaxy. I heard they can fly through black holes. Jake wanted to tell them that he couldn't fly through black holes, that he was just a regular kid who happened to live in a place other people. Thought was dangerous. But he kept walking down at lunch. Jake's friends found him sitting alone at their usual table. You seem sad, Kira observed, her smoke turning from gold to a worried blue color. I'm not sad, Jake said. I'm just tired of being special. But you are special, Rex insisted. Your people have opened up half the galaxy for exploration. That's the problem, Jake said. Everyone expects us to be amazing all the time. But we're not. We're just good at one thing that other people happen to be bad at. Vel tilted her head, studying Jake with her big compound eyes. Is that really what bothers you? Jake thought about it. Back home, before I came here, I was just Jake Morrison. My dad was just a miner. My mom was just a scientist. My sister was just a kid who liked to collect rocks. Now everyone treats us like we're magic. But maybe you are magic, Kira said softly. Not in a supernatural way, but in the way that every species has its own special gifts. What do you mean? My people can exist in any atmosphere, Kira explained. We think that's normal, but it's impossible for most other species. Vel's people can process information faster than any computer. Rex's people can plan strategies that take into account thousands of variables. And humans, Vel added, can go places that scare the rest of us. It's not about being better than anyone else, Rex said. It's about being different in a useful way. Jake looked around the cafeteria at all the different species eating together, studying together, learning from each other. I guess I never thought about it like that. Plus, Kira said, her smoke turning pink with amusement, you're still just Jake Morrison to us. You still struggle with math. You still fall asleep in history class. You still can't remember to bring lunch money. Jake laughed for the first time in weeks. Thanks, guys. That afternoon, Jake got a message on his personal communicator. It was from the Galactic Exploration Consortium, offering him a position. As chief navigator on their next expedition to the Far Rim, he looked at the message for a long time. The Far Rim was a region beyond the edge of known space, where strange energies made normal space travel impossible. The consortium had been trying to explore it for centuries without success. So, Kira asked, appearing beside his locker as he read the message. What are you going to do after graduation? Jake remembered asking this same question 6 months ago, when his answer had changed everything. Now he understood that his choices would affect not just his own future, but the future of the entire galaxy. He thought about his father, flying through impossible regions of space with a smile on his face. He thought about his mother, discovering new forms of life in places where life shouldn't exist. He thought about his sister, already planning her own expeditions to places that didn't even have names yet. Well, Jake said slowly, there's this region past the edge of known space that nobody's ever mapped properly. They say it's impossible to navigate because of quantum storms and temporal distortions. His friends looked at each other and smiled. By now, they had learned that when a human said something was impossible to navigate, it usually just meant no one had figured out how to do it yet. Sounds dangerous, Vel said. Sounds impossible, Rex added. Sounds perfect for a human, Kara. Finished. Jake grinned and closed his communicator. Yeah, it does sound pretty interesting. As they walked toward their next class, Jake realized that being special wasn't about being better than everyone else. It was about using your gifts to help make the impossible possible. And if that meant humans would be the ones to explore the scary parts of space, then maybe that was exactly what they were meant to do. After all, someone had to be brave enough to go first.